to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Saturday. A little bit earlier than normal. I'm surprised Brandon actually got up this early. Was on time for 2 seconds, and then his dog had to go poop. So, we were almost there. We almost made it on time. But then Pivot had to ruin everything and go poop somewhere. Dig a hole. You know what? Now that I think of it, he probably digs a hole, poops in the hole, covers the hole, repatches the grass, sods it, fertilizes it. I see him on his 2 legs pushing the fertilizer bucket over it. And then he's like, ooh, all right, we can go back in. He actually probably takes you out on the leash. He probably walks you and says stay while he goes and finds his spot. Look, there you go. Is that him right there?
Yeah.
Is that him in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah. He hurt himself. He's like, yeah, had to go find my burying spot. It's right next to the gold that I'm hiding. So when the world
He's
ends...
perfectly in the...
Look at him. Don't let him fool you now, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are just listening, I apologize. That dog is... There's something up with that dog. I don't know what it is. He's not an actual dog. He's a human in a dog's body. I'm convinced that when you guys go to sleep, he walks downstairs, pulls up on the couch, legs crossed with a newspaper, and he just reads. There's just something's off about that dog, and I'm gonna figure it out one day. All right, we got a lot to get to today. We haven't been on in 2 weeks. I forgot what you had to do last week, but we couldn't do it Saturday. Then I couldn't do it Sunday.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
So.
We care very much. But today, we had to do today because today's a big day. And I personally like the title of our YouTube title today. Will he stay or will he go? Now people are like, oh, that's a really bland title. Why do you like that title so much? Because today is the day that Will Barton has to decide, is he staying and picking up his option with the Nuggets? Or is he potentially leaving, and declining his option? Now, I've been on record saying for quite some time now, I don't see why he would decline his option. Coming off another shortened year due to injury, which is like now, 2 or 3 years in a row, wouldn't really make sense for him to not pick up the option, in my opinion. I mean, I guess a team could overpay for him, if you're like a New York Knicks or, somebody like that. But I don't know. I think he has a better chance of staying on a winning team, contributing where he's not, all eyes on him, and then landing a bigger deal, as opposed to, a team giving him maybe a few years, but...
What if he gets hurt again, though?
Well, sure. But, I mean, is there a team... Do you think there's teams lining up to sign Will Barton after he's been hurt? And willing to offer him a max, not max deal, but like security? I don't know.
I mean, I think for him, I'm going to go ahead and assume that money is the most important thing, right? So a 3-year deal worth maybe, if he can get 12 to 15 a year, I think that's probably what he wants. So is there a team that will give him that? Maybe a team that is kind of where Denver was when they got Will Barton in the first place, right? A young team like maybe Detroit, a team like Oklahoma City, who wants a veteran to come in to kind of lead the group, in which Will Barton would probably want to do anyways. And I don't think it's really all about winning for him. I mean, and if it is, then he should take less money and go to LA, or go to a team like Milwaukee or Brooklyn, and just take the minimum. But I don't think that's what it's about for him. So,
No.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I've always been one of those that said, hey, go get your money, right? Now, if you're getting the same money from a team that is a contender, then you should probably go with that contender, Jeremy Grant. But, if you're not going to get that money, say, from the Nuggets or obviously the Lakers or, the Clippers, who don't have cap space, then go get your money.
Mhm.
But you are sacrificing a chance at a championship. Now maybe he thinks, well, I'm 30. How old is Will Barton? 30.
30,
Maybe
31.
at 33, 34, then that's when he signs with that contender. But go get your money because this is his last contract, his last big contract that he's gonna get. So he should opt
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I guess it makes sense in that sense, but I don't know. Well, he was quoted as saying, because Mike Singer of the Denver Post talked to him and asked him about it, and he didn't rule out anything. Obviously, he shouldn't. He said anything's possible. Obviously he likes being here, but I'm sure Will Barton, like Jeremy Grant, feels like he could have a bigger role and he could do more. But even then, I mean, what bigger role could bigger opportunity could you have to showcase your talents this coming season without Jamal Murray? Now it's ratcheted up even more how much Denver needs you, at least this year. And I think it's funny that one of the most maligned players on the Nuggets, right, in recent memory, it's kind of like almost how DT left out of the door. You'll be hard pressed to find a person that's level-headed and like down the middle, reasonable on Will Barton. That would be me. Then on the other spectrum, you have like a person like you that absolutely despises Will Barton and hates everything about him. And then I'm sure there's people that are on the very far end that are just he can do no wrong. So I think it's just funny that one of the players that gets the most backlash on the team actually now holds a lot of the Nuggets' future in his hands.
Well, and I don't know if we're gonna get to Nuggets offseason because I think there's 3 options for them. 3 ways that they can go. One way they're going into tax. Another way and I'll go over it later if we're going over today or next week, whatever. But I think there's 3 options for them, and I do think that Will Barton is part of that, but not how you think. So we can go over that later, later today or next week. But there are 3 options for the Nuggets because right now their window is open, and it's how they want to try and take advantage of that window. So we'll see, but I think Will Barton is a big piece in that scenario, and any of them, he's a big piece.
Yeah. I just don't know how you replace him if you lose him. Like everybody thought, after they lost Jeremy Grant, like, oh, we'll be fine. Bring in JaMychal Green. And we saw for the first portion of the year, now part of that could be because of the shortened off season, the slow start with Jamal and everything like that. This team was maybe an 8 seed, 7 to 8 seed. It was looking rough at times. Now you lose a guy like Will Barton. Okay, now that again increases what MPJ has to do, but with a full off season, one would expect that he should come back better and improved. But now that limits the amount of scorers. So now you're probably going to have to put a Monte in the starting lineup again. Probably not Facu. Hopefully not Facu. But you lose that option there. And then you're asking more from Aaron Gordon, who we saw when he has to be a option, like a top 2 or 3 option. It's kind of rough at times, most of the time. I mean, if he's not getting to the basket, you really can't rely on him to create his own shot and make it consistently. So today's a big day. I don't know what time that Will Barton has to decide by. I was trying to look that up before we got on here. I'm sure at some point in the afternoon that he has to make his decision. But this is a big decision. This is a big domino, I think, for the Nuggets. Because if he opts out, then it becomes, okay, if he gets a big deal offer, are the Nuggets even willing to match? I think the Nuggets probably are hoping that he opts in, honestly, because then it saves them having to possibly overpay for him, and it saves them, having to find a replacement for him.
Well, there's a
that
way.
may not be as good.
There's a way. If he does opt out, there's a way around that.
What do you mean?
In one of my, maybe 2 of my scenarios, why I said he's a big part is because you can do a sign and trade.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Could. But who
So-
are you? I kind of want to save this, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm not trying I'm
Safest.
not trying to say too much because there I have three options for the Nuggets, like I said.
Okay.
So, but in two of those, he's in a package for a sign and trade.
Now, what are we getting back? Is it a star level player? Is it an all star
You'll
caliber
see.
player?
You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait and see.
That's what we call a tease. All right. It's a radio vetting you coming out. Okay, I like it. Yeah, no, we plan on to get into that stuff further on down the road. I want to get into some draft prospects eventually. You know, obviously the draft's going to be coming up very soon. I've been watching quite a few prospects, and I sent you the guy's name, Adam Spinella, I think is how you pronounce his last name. A lot of his breakdowns, and I think they're phenomenal. How he breaks down these players and goes over their pros and weaknesses. And at 26, I mean, obviously the Nuggets aren't going to get a lottery caliber player, but if there's one thing that Denver has kind of hung their hat on, is finding diamonds in the rough, where they're not completely shiny at first, but a little bit of polish and growth and development, and you find you have some really good players. So I think there's a few options here, and there's going to be some options I think available for Denver to where they could go defense, and there's some guys who are playmakers and defensive guys, or there's your shooters, your spot up shooters, some guys who can create a little bit and shoot, but obviously have no defensive impact whatsoever. So, I mean, we know the Nuggets could use both, right? Playmaking and more shooting. But we've seen they could also use some more defense, especially on the perimeter to stop guys. So it's going to be interesting. So we can get into that too down the road. Okay, last thing on Will Barton here. Gut feeling. Do you think he is in a Nuggets uniform next year?
No. But that doesn't I don't know if he opts in or opts out, but no. Either way, I do not think so.
See, I think he should opt in.
But I thought about that.
I agree with you that he will opt out.
I don't think he should opt in.
No, he probably won't.
Because
I think
the smarter thing, because how much money is he about to make this year if he opts in?
I think his option is like 14.
Okay, would you take 1 year 14 or 3 years 12 each?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're him, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he wants to take that much. I mean, it's $2 million, but
yeah, but it's 3 years.
But but here's the thing. Yes, he could take that, but he's probably going to a team that's not as good as the Nuggets. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So if he's okay with going the Jeremy Grant route of getting security, now obviously it's not completely the same as Jeremy Grant, but getting a security type of deal where he's going to make, 36 some odd $1 million, but he's going to, like, say it's an OKC or a Washington, somewhere like that, and where he's more of an option. Okay, sure. But again, he could opt in, get the 14 for this year, prove that he can stay healthy. He's still on a winning team to where he can now be a bigger option with Jamal out, hence put up more numbers, and then set himself up for next year.
Sure, but if he gets hurt again, if it's serious, and right now that's
I think the injury's already on the forefront of people's minds when they go to sign him this year.
Well, exactly, it's 3 straight years that he's missed the playoffs, essentially. Well, been hurt during the playoffs.
Yes.
So
yes.
So he
2 of the 3 he did play.
2 of the 3 he played, but barely, right? Or not to the level that he could, because obviously this year he was limited in minutes.
Well, did he play in the San Antonio series?
He got benched because he wasn't the same.
That's right.
So, and then obviously he missed the bubble. So he's been hurt, hindered, or limited in 3 straight playoffs. So for him, honestly, if I'm Will Barton, maybe you do take the 3 years, $12 million each year on a bad team. Don't make the playoffs. Stay healthy. Maybe you can get another contract after.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If it was me, I'd probably opt in. But I think you're probably more right on. I think if there's
I'm not
a deal
putting winning
and
in the forefront. That's the thing. For a lot of players, as a fan, I think for fans, I think it's like, well, how can you not prioritize winning? Well, it's their job, and if they want to keep playing as long as they possibly can,
Yeah.
then you always take the money. You always take the longer contract.
Well, listen, I don't think it's, anybody's naive to the fact that some of these guys like more what basketball gives them
Right.
instead of actually
I would say I
basketball.
would say 90% of the players believe that, right? I think there's only a very few players, very few amount of players that don't care about the money. It's a nice part to it, obviously, but they want to win desperately. But I say 90% because 10%, I would say 5 of that percent is young in their prime players, and 5% is veteran players that haven't won yet and have the money. They just want to win.
Mhm.
So it's a very small amount of players that actually care about winning a championship,
Mhm.
because most players think they'll get it eventually. You know what? I'm going to take the money with this bad team. I'm going to stick through this because when I'm 32, 33, maybe then I can take the minimum or a lower salary on a championship team, because
Yeah.
they're not superstars. So they're going to make sure they get their money first and then win a championship later as a role player, because they're already a role player.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll know a lot today. And I mean, hopefully he opts in. I'm hoping as a fan he opts in. But if he opts out, I understand. It's going to hurt for the Nuggets. It's going to present another interesting challenge for Tim Connolly.
Well, like I
and
said,
Calvin Booth,
either way, I don't think he would have been on the team.
Okay. We shall see.
I don't think it matters for the Nuggets.
Oh, I don't know about that. But we have to get to something that does matter. Okay. In my little hiatus off of Twitter, I did see that Jamal Murray accidentally, maybe not accidentally, liked a tweet suggesting that he would be on the Lakers after this summer. How much stock do we put into this? I know Twitter was probably like that scene in SpongeBob where all of them are running around inside SpongeBob's brain and everything's burning and papers are flying. I'm sure that's probably what Nuggets Twitter was like.
I wasn't on that end of Twitter. I thought it was funny. Here's the thing, okay? First of all, Jamal's under contract for 4 years. For more years. Obviously, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't think that means anything.
As we've seen with James Harden and Dame. But he also has the MVP, and it seems like those two are very, very, very close. And also number 3, who the hell are the Lakers going to give you? And
Right.
we can go down that road with Dame, and all these people, all these Laker fans, and they're Laker fans are as close to Cowboys fans as you can get. They think they can get, and Knicks fans, they think they can get anybody. To be fair, they do get, they got LeBron. But when you're offering up Kyle Kuzma and Caldwell Pope and whatever else the trash you have, that's not going to get you a star, let alone a superstar. So,
well, unless you're willing to part with one of yours, that's the only way you're getting a Damian.
Well,
Lillard.
and here's right, unless you're getting rid of Anthony Davis. But I'll say this for the Nuggets, as far as the Nuggets go, and I mean I would put Portland in this too. Why the hell would you want Anthony Davis?
Oh yeah, so I'm glad we're on the same page on that. I would not want him at all.
And some people are bringing up Paul George. Now, if you're Denver, it doesn't really make sense because you have MPJ. Now, if you want to try and make a move to where you're sending MPJ off and getting a Paul George to be your third guy, I'm interested, right? But getting rid of Jamal, well, now who's your point guard? What are you doing now? You can't just say, "Oh, Jokic is the point guard," because you need ball handlers, right? We saw that in the playoffs against Phoenix. They need ball handlers. Jokic can only do so much. Yes, he's a point center, but a point center doesn't make you a point guard. And I think there's a very big difference, and I think that's something that we learned throughout these playoffs with Jokic. He can get you 8 to 10 assists or 8+ assists a night, and that's great. He can bring the ball up the floor, but as far as being your point guard, he cannot do that because he has other responsibilities. He cannot do that. He's not Luka. He's not LeBron also with athleticism, ball handle, all of that. So he cannot do that. So you cannot trade your point guard for a wing player, and then what do you do at point guard? You can maybe, at that point you're getting rid of Jamal's big contract, so maybe it evens out to where you can try and go out and get Alonzo Ball still. I don't know, but even in that scenario, the Clippers wouldn't want MPJ for Paul George because they're not rebuilding, so it doesn't matter. So I'm not giving up Jamal Murray for Anthony Davis. It makes zero sense. I'm not giving up Damian Lillard for Anthony Davis. What's that going to do for you? It's not going to do anything. So the Lakers, unless they're willing to give up Anthony Davis for a Ben Simmons, then I think that is something that I think both sides would consider. But I don't think
Really?
I think Philly, if that's the best you can get, and LA is if both teams are want to move on from those stars, right? Which obviously Philly wants to, and if LA wants to just get out of the Anthony Davis stuff, then maybe going after someone like Ben Simmons, who offers you maybe a little bit more than what Anthony Davis can do, at least with ball handling, playmaking, defense, staying healthy, then maybe you go that route, and then you try.
Philly already has an injury-prone big. They don't need a second one.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? So for Philly, you can
Plus,
pair.
that would just look weird.
You can pair Anthony Davis with Embiid, but then again, you're in the same boat, right? You got to hope that they both stay healthy. So
and
again,
AD
I don't
had
think-
this earlier in his career too with DeMarcus Cousins in New Orleans.
Right. So I don't know. I don't think there is anything that the Lakers can do. They chose Anthony Davis. LeBron chose Anthony Davis.
Mhm.
They got to
Yeah.
at this point they got to stick with it. And when he's healthy, you saw what he could do in the bubble. So
Right.
it's not a horrible thing to keep Anthony Davis. I think for the Lakers, Dame is out of the picture. Bradley Beal's out of the picture. Can't offer anything. So you got to just find ways to get other free agents or other young players that have really good potential. Lonzo Ball makes a lot of sense. Lonzo Ball is going to get moved, and he makes a lot of sense for a lot of teams. And LA can work the money around to get Lonzo Ball. Same like I've said with Denver. Denver can work the money around to get Lonzo Ball. I think that's probably the biggest name that you will hear, and DeJounte Murray apparently. So I think those are the two biggest names that you will be hearing for these contender teams, like the Clippers, like the Lakers, like the Nuggets. I think those three teams. The one team that makes the most sense for, I mean, we can transition this into Dame because I don't know if you want to say anything else about Jamal, but the one team that makes the most sense if I'm Portland, I'm working on trying to get a deal done with Golden State before the draft.
But that just doesn't make sense for Golden State. Why would you pair?
Are you sure about that? Because
Why would I pair Damian and Steph together?
Because both can work off
You-
ball. But Steph can work off ball.
How often have we seen Damian work off ball though?
Okay, well we know Steph can work off ball. Think about this,
Right.
okay? This starting lineup of Dame, Steph, Clay,
You're not keeping Clay. There's no way you
Dray-
keep Clay in this deal.
Draymond, and Kevin Looney. You're
There-
giving up. No, here's the why. Okay, for Portland, right? Why would you want a 30-plus-year-old when you're rebuilding?
Yeah,
I'm.
well, because he
if
can
I-
still play.
If
though.
are you sure about that? Because
I'm
he's
not-
missed.
I'm not
Are you sure
taking
about
just
that? Because
Picks and
he's missed
Wiseman.
he's missed 2 straight years. I'm taking Pick 7, pick 14, James Wiseman, and the two future firsts, which, by the way, won't be until 2023 and 2025. That 2025 one is interesting because that's in 4 or 5 years. Steph will be 35, 36. Clay will be 35, 36. Dame will be 33, 34. Draymond will probably be gone. So that's a team that may not get a lot of wins. That's a team that might be completely broken up by then. That's a good pick. So if you're giving me those two future firsts, pick 7 and pick 14, and the second overall pick in James Wiseman and Andrew Wiggins to make the money work. And that's where Wiggins is your veteran that you're going to probably look to move on after that, right? You're going to pair Wiggins and maybe pick 14 for something, right? Or
why wouldn't you just do that with Clay and pick 14? You get more.
Because Golden State will not give up Klay Thompson.
If I'm Portland, ain't no way I'm just taking picks in Wiseman and Wiggins.
Well, tell me something better. No way. Tell me something better that Portland's gonna get because that's the best they're gonna get.
If you switch out Wiggins for Clay, then okay, we have a deal. But I'm not.
Golden State's not giving up.
You're
something,
trading a future Hall of Famer.
Give me something who wants out. By the way, if that's the case, if he wants out.
I think he's undecided. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Houston did not get anything better than that.
Yeah, but that's on them.
No.
They could have held out for a better deal. They chose not to.
What better deal? Ben Simmons?
Yeah. Would have been a whole lot better than what they got.
Nah.
100% yes. Oh, but nah. What did they get? What did they get back?
Well, I guess they traded all their stuff to Indiana. So I guess, in Houston's case, they kind of blew it. But
of course they did.
But they would have probably moved Ben Simmons to Indiana. I don't know what they were doing.
It depends on what Portland wants to do.
Right.
Because I saw Colin Cowherd talking about this yesterday. Do they want to still be viable or do they want to rebuild?
There's no way they can be viable. There's no way they can be viable with the chance to win a championship. Not with the chance to win a no.
You have to go back and watch his video. Well, not a chance to win a championship, but be a playoff team. Yeah, you could still be a playoff team, but a championship team,
why would you want that though? Why I don't
to be relevant,
especially in the NBA. To me, it makes no sense to try to stay relevant as a 5, 6, 7, 8 seed. It's the dumbest thing you can do because you're never gonna win and you're never gonna be in a position to get a superstar. Look at what.
Well,
for all
do we know that
for everything that we've said about Phoenix in this playoff run, they did it right. They took those. It was a really crappy 4 to 5 years, right? It sucked. But you know what? They got Devin Booker at pick 13. They got DeAndre Ayton at pick 1. They got Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. They were able to then go get a guy like Chris Paul and Cameron Payne. They did it right. Look at the Denver Nuggets as another team who has done it right. They get Jamal Murray at pick 7. They got lucky with Jokic. They got MPJ at pick 14. They did it right. And when it was time, they went and got that veteran Paul Millsap a couple years earlier or a couple years ago. And then now they're in a position to take a shot, right? They're now at that position to take a shot at a superstar if they want, right? Same with Phoenix, by the way. So if you're Portland, you should be willing to take that 4 or 5 years of just sucking because you're going to come out of it with James Wiseman, who's going to be an all-star center, pick 7 and pick 14.
We don't know that.
He's on track. The way he played in his rookie year,
hurt.
He did. But the way he played looked really good and looked like a guy who can do those things. Now you have pick 7, pick 14. Oh, well, those aren't great picks. Well, I just mentioned both the Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns where most of their best players have come from pick 7 and pick 14.
You still got to hit on those picks, though.
You got it.
I'm saying they can still be viable.
And you can
I'll
trade
play
up,
devil's advocate with Cowherd's position here. I'm not saying that I would do it, But if you trade for an Anthony Davis, you don't think, I mean, now granted, it's unlikely because Dame hasn't been able to get guys to come to Portland, but at least maybe that entices a star to come there and team up with AD or Clay
if Dame
or
couldn't,
anybody like that.
if Dame couldn't, you're not going to. And let's go ahead and
No, but
let's
I'm just
go
saying
ahead
they
and,
could
and
still be a
look.
playoff caliber team.
When Anthony Davis was the superstar, was the number one guy in New Orleans, how
Mhm.
far did they get? Just as a seed,
Well,
were they
not
even
far,
ever
but
a top
he was
six
still
seed?
able to get players. They still got DeMarcus Cousins, who was in his prime, but he tore his Achilles. Now you can say that was on their front office for trying to build around two bigs like that, which I think was stupid. But I mean, they still had good teams.
They had good teams. What seeds were they?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that was early
6, 7,
20,
8.
2013, 2014.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, they were still a playoff team. I mean, you
Good
you
for
can argue
you.
if they if
Congratulations,
DeMarcus Cousins
you made the
would have worked
playoffs.
out, maybe they're I don't know, maybe they make it to the second round.
Does Portland make the playoffs in the West next year?
Depends on who they have on their roster.
Okay, let's. I don't know who they go at point guard, but say they grab some veteran, low amount of money point guard, CJ McCollum. They have the three what's his name that they have right now that they picked up.
Covington?
No, it wasn't Covington. Was it Covington? Who started at the three? Who was who was guarding MPJ? Was that Covington?
Yeah.
Okay, Covington. At the 4, you got Anthony Davis, and you bring Nurkic back, which I don't know if Nurkic wants to come back. It sounded like after that series that Nurkic was gone. So then you got Cantor. That's not a playoff team. I'm sorry. Not in the West. In the East, yeah. That's not a playoff team in the West.
Could be a playoff. That could be an 8 seed, 7 seed.
You sure about that? Because I count the
that
Lakers.
team I think is better than Memphis.
Yeah, but you got to remember that a team that didn't
better than New Orleans.
They're not better than Golden State, who missed the playoffs. They're not better than Utah. They're not better than Phoenix. They're not better than Denver, LA, Dallas, Lakers, and Golden State. That's 7. They might make it as an 8 seed. Congratulations. Now you have to play the Lakers, Clippers, Suns, Jazz, Nuggets in the first round. Is that worth
You'd
it?
still be viable.
It's that you're not viable as an 8 seed.
I don't think it's worth it. I'm
And
not
by the
saying,
way-
I'm just
by the
defending.
way-
There's a different point of view to this.
By the way, you can easily miss the playoffs because Anthony Davis is probably going to get hurt.
Yes.
And then you're going to miss the playoffs because of the play-in games. You're going to lose.
All I'm saying
And by the
is
way,
that if
are
I'm
we sure
Portland-
that New Orleans is not going to be better than that team? Because the way Zion is going, Brandon Ingram, and
Well,
what
he
they
might
do
get
this
traded too
What-
if he feels the same way his family members feel.
well,
So-
this offseason is interesting for New Orleans.
All I'm saying is that if you're Portland, if I'm Portland, and I want to keep the viable route and still be relevant, then I don't want Andrew Wiggins and Wiseman and picks. I don't want a rookie coming off an injury who, while he has promise, doesn't mean he's going to be anything. Wiggins, who's become a journeyman and hasn't lived up to his
They
pick.
give me a better offer.
I just told you, if you're going to give me Wiseman, then
I
swap out Wiggins for Klay Thompson. That's what I
Golden
want.
State will not get rid of Klay Thompson. Give me
Well,
some.
then if
give
I'm
me another
if
team.
I'm Portland
give me another
and I
team.
want to, if I'm Olshey and I want to stay relevant, then I don't want Wiggins. That's all I'm saying. I'm trading a future Hall of Famer in his prime. I'm
You're
not trading
staying
him for Wiggins and Wiseman.
In this situation, you're not staying relevant. You're going to move Wiggins off to another team for more picks.
Klay Thompson and CJ McCollum, and if Nurkic comes back and Zach Collins comes back, and you get some sort of point.
You're in the same
That's a
situation.
relevant team.
You're the 8th seed. That's not better than Utah, Phoenix, Denver, Clippers,
Still a
Dallas.
relevant playoff team.
No, an 8th seed. That's not a relevant playoff team.
You're a playoff team, so you're relevant.
Was San Antonio relevant this year?
Well, I mean,
Because that's who
they'd
they'd be. That's who they would be.
They were a playoff caliber team.
Really? Because they
didn't
were
make playoffs,
33 and
but-
39.
Well, they made it in the play-in, didn't they? They got one game
That's
in the play-in,
that's
didn't they?
not relevant.
Well, it's borderline
That's-
relevant.
that
When you're
is
in the
not-
playoffs,
that-
you are relevant.
That's not worth it. Because you know what? Then you're gonna if you do that, right? Then guess what? Next year or the year after that, you're gonna be one of the worst 5 teams in the league, and you're gonna be back to where you would have been if you would have traded Dame for all those picks, right? And then you're saying, well, we probably should have took that deal.
This just
and
goes back
started
to
it
the
a year
argument.
earlier.
that you like to trade Hall of Famers for unproven things, and I like to get things back for Hall of Famers that are proven. This is just what this goes down to. I'm not saying that if I'm Portland,
That's not
I would
how it
choose
works
the
in the
viable
NBA.
route.
This is not the NFL where you can take
I'm,
other decent
I'm-
players. This is
I'm not saying that if I'm Portland, I'm choosing to stay relevant, albeit not as relevant as, a championship contender. I'm not saying I would choose that route. I'm just saying if I'm Olshey and that's the route he wants to go, if I'm trading Damian Lillard, I actually want a good piece back if I want to remain relevant. I don't want Andrew Wiggins, who's not going to be here and who's just been a
Golden State's not giving up Klay Thompson. It's not happening.
Klay Thompson is still really good, and I think that's worth it. I think that's at least a fair piece to the trade.
You don't understand what I'm saying. They Golden State, sure, I would take Klay Thompson. You are not going to get Klay Thompson because there's no one else.
Then you won't get Damian Lillard.
There's no one else. There's no one else in the league that can offer anything better than that.
Well, then I'm not giving you Damian Lillard. If I'm Olshey and I want to remain relevant, I don't want Wiggins. I want Klay. No? Okay, then you don't get Damian Lillard. Then we don't need to talk anymore. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Then Portland gets screwed because they have to hold on to Dame.
Well, they can find other trade partners.
Which one is better?
If I'm choosing, what is my goal though? What is my goal?
I'll give you.
Am I going the rebuild route or am I staying relevant?
Well, you just passed. You could have went the rebuild mode with Golden State. So you just passed that up. So you're trying to stay relevant.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying if Olshey wants to stay relevant, I want Klay in the deal. But if I'm going the rebuild
you can't get
route,
Klay. Golden State hung up the phone.
Well, no, I hung up the phone. I hung up the phone because they said I'm not getting Klay, so I hung up first.
No, they hung up when you said you wanted Klay.
I hung up as they were putting their finger on the end button. I said no, boom, done. No, boom, done. That's what it was. Okay, now if I'm going the rebuild route, then yes, I agree with you. There's probably not another option. Because
I'll give you
Golden
one
State
other.
can offer more picks.
I'll give you one other.
I mean, unless it's Boston, do they still have 87 picks, or Oklahoma City with their 48 picks?
No, I don't know if Oklahoma City would do that. Denver.
Well, okay, now we're
Because
talking.
here's the thing, Dame wants to go to a contender, right? That's why he wants to be traded. So you're not going to get him to Oklahoma City. Boston's interesting because you can get Jaylen Brown. But I don't know what picks Boston has, and they're not going to be high picks. So you're kind of in the same boat with Denver, where you're not going to have high picks. Now,
I disagree.
Here's what
Denver can offer the best deal. If
Denver can
Portland wants to
offer
remain relevant, Denver can offer the best deal.
Well, here's the question: if you're Denver, are you offering MPJ or are you offering Jamal? Because I'm not getting rid of both of them.
Both.
No, you're not doing that.
Both.
Denver's not doing that.
I would.
And by the way, that's not going to work.
If I'm Tim
that's
Connolly,
not going to work.
And they call
You're not
me,
going to win. You're not going to win with just Dame and Jokic. Not in the
You're
West.
telling me you can't get a 3 to come here?
Are you sure about that?
Caliber player?
Are you sure? I don't think.
Absolutely, yes.
What? Okay,
you
then
can't win
what
with
free
2
agent?
MVPs?
What free agent can you afford that you can get a third? And then you're gonna have zero depth. You're gonna be the Lakers.
Well,
How'd that work for the Lakers this year?
That's when Kroenke needs to go into the pocketbooks. If I'm Portland, why would I just want Jamal? Okay, that's not going to be a straight up trade. That's not equal at all. That is not equal. Let's be real here. It's not. Now there's not a lot of space between the two, but that's not equal.
You're
Jamal's
also giving
off
up
of an injury.
You're also giving up draft picks and what? Here's what if I'm Portland, I would consider this along with the Golden State deal that I put, because you got to look at you're not going to get what Dame is worth. You got to understand that.
You can get really freaking close.
But you can get close, but a team like Denver's not going to say we'll give you Jamal and MPJ. That's not going to happen. Denver's not going to do that because if I'm
Portland, I'm asking for that.
Okay, you can ask for that, but you're not going to get that from any team.
Then hanging up.
Then you're screwed.
No, someone will give in. Someone wants Damian.
What? Houston
someone
tried.
wants Damian.
Houston tried. It didn't work.
Someone will want Damian. It doesn't make sense to just get Jamal because one, he's not the same player as
I'm
Damian.
offering
He's
no.
not the same
if
caliber.
I'm no. If
He's
I'm
coming off of
Portland,
an
I'm taking
injury.
MPJ. MPJ has the highest
That's
ceiling.
it.
No,
And high picks.
I'm taking MPJ.
Mm-mm.
The 3 firsts, which would be 2021, 2023, 2025. Right? Am I doing that right? And then I'm taking, or well, you do it after the draft. So then you're taking 2022, 2024, 2026. That's better. And then you're taking, yes, MPJ. You're taking probably Bol and Zeke and any other piece that works financially. So you're going to have to take, you know, guys that are worth money, and then you can move off of them. Will Barton, sign and trade. Who else is worth money right now for the Nuggets? I'm missing someone. JaMychal Green. So you're taking those guys, then you're moving off of them later on, or you're just building with them, and then at that point you're tanking, right? You're quote unquote, you're not tanking on purpose, but well, whatever. You're not telling the players to lose, but essentially you're tanking. Then off of that, you move CJ. You get more first round picks for CJ, and then you let go of Nurkic. Maybe you do a sign and trade with Nurkic, get more picks, and you essentially go what Oklahoma City is doing, because I think what Oklahoma City is doing is smart, and you're taking as many picks as you can, and now you have a guy in MPJ. You haven't had this type of player since Brandon Roy, a wing player that I think we both agree you need in the NBA to win.
Also injury prone.
We don't. Okay,
Yes.
well, sure, but every other player that you would have gotten is quote unquote injury prone. I mean, Ben Simmons isn't injury prone, but he's broken. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is coming off of an injury. Porzingis is injury prone. Anthony Davis is injury prone. Who else can you get? I don't. Wiggins isn't injury prone, but he's not very good. So you're not gonna get anything better than that. Look, MPJ's 22 years old. He's a guy who's been compared to Kevin Durant, and his weaknesses right now are ball handling and catching the ball. Two things that you can learn. Okay.
And you have no faith.
Well, ball handling you can't. Playmaking, right? Ball handling and playmaking. That's something that you can get better at. So now you start over, but you have your piece. You have, whether it's Golden State or Denver, you have your piece. You have a piece. Now with Golden State, you can't really build around a center. That's why MPJ is so enticing, because he is the mold on what you need to win. You need a wing player who can score at all 3 levels. Devin Booker, right? Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. You need a wing player to win. Now for Denver, as a Nuggets fan, you're saying, well, we're getting rid of our wing players, so now we can't win. Well, I'm moving Jamal to the 2.
There's no way that this is even a remotely fair trade.
Give me a better, because look, you got to get it. You got to understand that Portland is not going to give up, or not. Portland is not going to give or get what they are giving up. They're not. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 even deal.
No.
And here's the thing. If MPJ works out, by the way, you have your Hall of Famer right there. That's already 100 for. That's already even. If
But
MPJ,
there's an if in front of that, though.
Sure, there
This
is.
If.
There is. But think about it, right? If let's say they do this deal, you have all those draft picks. Great. Now you go into next year, right, where you have a top 5 pick. Let's say you get, I don't know who's in that draft, but let's say you get a really good guard in that draft, a top 5 pick. By the way, Dame wasn't a top 5 pick, or just outside of top 5. So also Clay, Devin Booker, Jamal, blah, 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 were all from past 5. So if you have a top 5 and then another pick that's somewhere in the lottery, if you swing CJ McCollum or whatever you do, right? then all of a sudden, let's say you go out and get a good guard. All of a sudden, you have a guard who's 19 years old, an MPJ who's 23, who probably averaged 25 to 30 points per game with that team. Then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, well, we got piece A and MPJ. We just drafted piece B. Now, in the next year, you're still going to be pretty bad, right? So then you go get PC as another big. All of a sudden, you're right there. But you got to drive. But again, that's how you win if you're a small market to mid market. You have to do that.
You are hilarious, dude. You're hilarious.
How else are you going to win a championship?
Yes, you have to draft correctly. Yes, I agree with you there. But to assume that you're just going to hit a piece B, got him in the draft, and PC also got him.
Well, it's not a guarantee, obviously, but that's what you have to do.
I'm not saying that Tim Connolly would agree with this or should, but if I'm Olshey, okay, and I'm trading a Hall of Famer, if it's either or between the two,
you're not going to get a Hall of Famer back.
It's not. No, I'm not saying you'll get a Hall of Famer back, but you need to get as close to that as you can.
I think MPJ is as close as
Jamal
you can get.
Isn't it? Just MPJ, that's not it. And those guys with picks. Jamal coming off an ACL, who's not the same player, but again, not a lot of space between
Denver's
the two.
not going to do that.
Opinion.
Denver's not going to do that.
I get that. I already said I don't think Tim Connolly would do it, but I'm saying if I'm Olshey and I want to get as much as I can, then I am asking for Jamal and MPJ because I think that's close to equivalent as possible.
No, that's what's going to be said. You're not going to get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? You're not going to get.
I'm not asking for both those guys.
You're not going to get Klay Thompson, James Wiseman, and all those picks. It's not going to happen. You're not going to. No one's going to offer that. No one's going to offer that.
The difference with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Okay, Brown is injured, but it's a hand, and Tatum's already an all-star. These two guys aren't all-stars. You're banking on potential with both Jamal and MPJ.
Sure.
Now,
well, and that's why I said I think Jaylen Brown is interesting, but the problem is with Jaylen Brown, I don't know how many. Well, Boston should have picks. I think that might be the best one, but then Jaylen Brown has played 78, 70, 74, then 57, 58. So he's played almost every game in the regular season. He got hurt, obviously, right before the playoffs this past year. And he's gone from 13 points to 20 points to 24 points in the last 3 years. So Jaylen Brown, yes. And by the way, he was an all-star. So Jaylen Brown is probably the best deal that you can get as long as you get also those picks. And then I would want Boston, whoever they drafted the last couple of years. Same thing with the Nuggets. I would want Zeke Naji and Bol Bol. Just to see. I mean, you never know. I mean, obviously with RJ Hampton, it's working out in Orlando. At least it was looking like it. So, and Zeke Naji has looked actually really good and who the Nuggets really love. So if I'm getting MPJ or Jamal and then Zeke Naji, Bol Bol is a throw to see, you never know what happens. And those draft picks, then yeah, if I'm... Same thing with Boston. I'm getting Jaylen Brown draft picks. But again, with the Celtics and how they've run things over there, they have not been willing to offer very much. They'll probably be like, instead of Jaylen Brown, we'll offer you Kemba Walker.
But that was under what's his face?
Sure, right.
Who was not McHale? Who's running?
I can't.
Danny Ainge. That's who it was.
Yeah, and
that's under Ainge. Now it's Brad Stevens.
Right.
So I mean, it could be different this time.
It could be.
Ainge was frugal with his picks. Maybe Stevens isn't the same.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Okay, just take all of this. Take all of what would possibly more likely than not happen. Okay, just take all this out. If Portland comes to you, okay, and says, we'll give you Damian Lillard, but we want both Jamal
I'm saying no.
and MPJ. You're saying no to that?
I'm saying no.
I'm saying absolutely yes, you can have them.
No.
Absolutely. You have an MVP already arguably a top 5 player in the league.
What did I just say earlier? You're not winning a championship without a wing player.
You're telling me no one's gonna want to come play with Damian Lillard and Nikola Jokic.
Look, okay, I'll give you an example. Now,
There's two
now
Hall of
he's
Famers
he,
right there.
he's
MVPs.
he's not Nikola Jokic, and I get it. But when you pairing a point guard who's undersized already, who's lacking defense, with a guy with another big, it's not going to work. And Portland tried it with Damon LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, again, Aldridge is not Jokic, but Aldridge was an all-star in those years. He was putting up 24 and 12 in those years. It did not work. I'm not willing. I that makes me nervous. Because who are you putting at 2, 3, and 4? Because, by the way, you have no money.
Figure it out. You figure it out.
That's not good enough to beat Phoenix. It's not good enough to beat the Lakers or
That
whatever
might be.
they're gonna do. No, it's not.
That might be.
No, not against Phoenix.
You have two MVP caliber players. One's already an MVP. One has been in the MVP race
would
for
have been
years
it would have
now.
been good enough to beat Phoenix this year, but not next year, because now all of a sudden Phoenix is gonna.
But who says Phoenix is going to come back as the same team, though? What if Chris Paul opts out?
Well, if Chris Paul
What if they don't bring back Torrey Craig?
Well, if Chris Paul, Torrey, give me a break. If Chris Paul, if Chris
Don't
Paul
slander Torrey
if Chris
Craig.
Paul leaves, then it's different, right? It's obviously different.
You're banking on, they still have to sign Aiden
They're
and
gonna
Mikal Bridges.
they're gonna keep Chris Paul, and they have guys under contract still for next year. Where it gets messy for Phoenix is the year after that and the year after that. That's where it gets messy. But if Phoenix wanted to, yes, they could bring the whole team back. They're going to go into the tax, but they can bring the whole team back. But like I said, it gets messy when you have to pay DeAndre in the year
But
after.
they have an owner that's notorious for not wanting to pay
Sure,
people.
but they've never had a championship team.
Well, I mean,
Not,
what about those
well,
early 2000 Suns? Those
Oh,
weren't
oh.
contenders?
Nah, Steve Nash again. You're giving me a point guard and a big.
Amari
it was never
Stoudemire?
it was never gonna work. A point guard and a big.
You're comparing these guys to a guy that's not even, that's going
Sure.
to be a Hall of
Look,
Fame big.
the Nuggets
who's changed the game.
The Nuggets with Damon Jokic, I'm sure will be a top 3 seed.
That's
but
a contender. That's a championship contending team.
And I understand that. But
Instantly.
I'm not giving up both MPJ and Jamal, because you need what third piece are you gonna have? You need a third piece. We've talked about it for 2
we
years.
trade for Giannis and then boom, we're done.
You need
Done.
a third piece.
Yeah.
You need a
and you
third
can
guy.
Find one. You
And
can
by
find
the way,
one.
against Phoenix, they have 3, 4, and 5.
You can find one.
Better than Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Cameron Payne.
Yeah.
Because that's their 3, 4, and 5. You're not finding anything better than
If you're
that.
telling me would I rather start my team with what Phoenix has or with 2 MVP caliber players? I'm taking the 2 MVP caliber players. Because we saw the Lakers just win a championship with that. Now, if those guys get hurt,
They're
then
also,
you're screwed.
but they're also in LA, where they can get guys
right?
who are willing to
Sure.
win and live
But
in
again,
LA.
you don't think there's guys that would say, I have Damian Lillard, one of the greatest shooters in the game and greatest scorers in the game, and I have Nikola Jokic, who's an MVP
I don't know.
and one of the
don't know,
most
because-
unselfish superstars
because
in the
it's a
league.
mid-market that's never happened before.
Well, time to make history then.
I mean, has it happened before? I mean, I guess Golden State
No,
technically.
but time to make history.
Golden State's the only one because they're technically a mid-market. So, right? Is Golden State a big? They're not a
This
big
is what
market.
happens, okay?
So
You trade for Damian. Kawhi opts out. He wants to go back into being a mercenary.
You're
He
not gonna-
signs a
you're
one-year
not gonna-
deal.
you're
You
not
win
gonna
a
afford-
championship.
by the way, he tore his ACL. Let's look. Okay,
Partially.
2021 NBA free agents, because you
I
got to
just
figure it out.
saw the problem.
You got to figure it out this year, right? Because if you got Dame, and by the way,
What is with you and not wanting to? Potential.
well,
That's
well,
all you
okay,
just want
if
to
you
bank on
can
is
get, okay,
potential.
I'll say this.
You would get fired.
No.
You would get
If you
fired
get,
in
my
the
my
NBA and NFL.
my issue is who you get at 3 and 4, right? That's
Me
my.
and you could go play out there with those guys, and we'd still make it to the
it's
Western
not-
Conference Finals.
We just saw it's not gonna work with just 2 guys. And by the way, what if the Lakers figure things out and get a guy like, all of a sudden they have, Chris Paul or
How
Kawhi
are we gonna
Leonard?
get Chris Paul? He'd opt out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or Mike Conley.
Well, you
Or
just
Kyle
hope that doesn't
Lowry.
happen. Listen,
You gotta
I will
hope
take
that
2
doesn't-
MVPs against the rest of the league any day.
Here's what I will say. if you can go out and maybe get a Victor Oladipo
No.
or an Otto Porter.
He's never healthy. Otto Porter? Oh my god.
Who else are you gonna get? You can't get anyone. You're spending all your money on 2 guys.
Yeah. You can win that way. You can win that way.
I don't right now I don't think you can. Not with Phoenix. Because I think Phoenix is only getting better. That's the problem. Is Phoenix is only getting better.
You've been crapping on them, and now you're suddenly complimenting them.
I'm not going to back. No, here's the thing. I loved Phoenix before all of this injury crap. They're a really good team. I've never said they're a bad team. They're a great team.
To the most healthy championship.
But they would not have gotten to the finals if the teams in the West were healthy, and that's just fact. But I do love Devin Booker, and I've really liked DeAndre Ayton since he got drafted. So I really like that team. And by the way, Cam Johnson is excellent. Cameron Payne is outstanding. Chris Paul, if he stays, obviously is terrific as a third guy. They have a great team. And the problem is, if you're a Nuggets fan or you're a Lakers fan or whoever, is Phoenix is only getting better because not only is Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton young, but Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Cameron Payne are young.
All these guys,
and that's where it gets right. That's where you're gonna
keep all these guys.
But here's what you can bring them back next year. That's what I'm saying. And then you use next year to figure it out, right? Because then all of a sudden Devin Booker's 26, 27, right in the middle of his prime. DeAndre Ayton's entering his prime. So you won't need that much depth because you have, all of a sudden, you have 2 Hall of Famers right there. That if it works, that's what I'm saying, if it works out, right? If they're entering their prime. Look, DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 overall pick.
We're already crowning this guy off after 1 playoff run?
No, but what I'm saying is, as a number 1 overall pick in a great playoff run, he can average 20 plus 22 and 12. That's what are we talking about here? And is great defensively, by the way. Devin Booker is on his track. They're on track. Now, obviously, it could fall apart. And I understand
Nothing's guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed. We
saw this year.
We all know with Oklahoma City in the past, we all know nothing's guaranteed. Mm-hmm. But for Phoenix, they're on track as long as they keep those guys, which they should. And by the way, they're 24 and 22, 25 and 22. You're gonna have them for a while, and then you think, and then with money, then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sign Chris Paul to a 2-year deal. With maybe that 3rd year being a team option.
He's not going for that.
I know. I would try. At least try and do a 3-year deal, right? In that 3rd year, maybe you can try and move him, if you possibly.
Good luck.
But
he holds all the leverage.
But then you got to make sure that you re-sign Cameron Payne to replace Chris Paul, and then by that point you're starting Cameron Payne and Chris Paul is coming off the bench, and then you would have to choose. And Cameron Payne's you got to lock up Cameron Payne now. You got to offer him a cheaper deal now. That's 3 years, right? Then you're good. And then you got to choose between Mikal Bridges and Cameron Payne. But that's after next year.
Johnson.
Okay, I agree. So all of a sudden now you have Devin Booker, or you have Cameron Payne, Devin Booker, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton. You figure it out at the 4. That's your 5th guy. And you have Chris Paul coming off the bench. And that's in 3 years.
Okay. All right.
So look, could it fall apart? Yes. Could Devin Booker just be a 2-level star from here on out? Which he is, by the way, right now. He's a 2-level. He's a second guy right now. He can turn into that number 1 guy, and he should turn into that number 1 guy. But right now, he's a 2nd star or 2nd level guy. Right? He's the 2nd best player on a championship team. So.
Oh, he's the best player.
He's the best player right now, but if everyone's healthy, he's the 2nd best player.
What?
If everyone was healthy in throughout the playoffs, right? As a 24-year-old, they're not making it past the 1st round. If everyone's healthy.
Are you saying 2nd best player on his team?
No. If you're building a championship team, building a championship team, he's more than likely the second best player who's capable of turning into a number 1.
I think he's already a number 1, but. Please prove
I
that.
consider him number one, but he needs to continue to do it, right?
Okay, fair.
Okay. And then you have DeAndre Ayton, who I consider who can be a number two. But again, same thing with Devin Booker. He needs to continue to do it. And then Cam Johnson looks like he's going to be a 3 easily. And then Cameron Payne's your 4. Chris Paul at that point's your 5. And then whoever you have at power forward is your 6. And that's in 3 years.
How are you keeping all these guys? You're telling me who you're going to pay if you're Denver. You're giving a max deal to Chris Paul. Devin Booker's on a max.
Well, the
Chris, pay DeAndre a max.
The Chris Paul thing, I think you try and move in after that or during that 3rd year to make sure you can sign.
I think all these guys are perfect in their roles.
But you can
One
also
thing with Phoenix,
you can also go into the tax if they're willing to.
Right. Well,
and
if the owner's willing to.
That's what I'm considering. They go into tax.
It's this year has literally been a perfect storm for Phoenix. Right. Not only with the injuries, but they're literally getting the best production out of all these players. Because they're all playing in their perfect roles.
Exactly. But it's not like they're all 30 plus years old. They're all under 25. So
but I mean, is Cam Payne a starting level point guard in the end? Like, sure, he's playing great right now in his role, but let's not forget this guy was out of the league.
Sure,
and he wasn't getting a shot anywhere.
But having Chris Paul mentoring it, he's not gonna ever be Chris Paul. He's never gonna be an all-star caliber point guard.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, if you have Devin Booker, who's a top 5 player in 3 years, which is possible, and DeAndre Ayton, who's a top 3 center in the league, which is very possible, then you don't need Cameron Payne to be an all-star. What are you talking about?
But I'm saying, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess he could be a solid player on your team.
He's a starting caliber point guard on a championship team.
But he's not. What?
He's a starting caliber point guard
right now.
No, not right now. He's 25 years old. What I'm saying, when he's in his prime, he's a starting caliber point guard on a championship level team that already has.
It's not fair to project what he's.
But what I'm saying is, oh my god, what I'm saying is Phoenix is on track. So in order to beat that, you're not gonna just need 2 superstars. Now, Damon and Jokic by themselves might be able to beat them next year. Should be able to beat them next year. I'll say that. But again, you also have LeBron and AD if they're healthy. What do we now? It comes down to the others, right? Well, you better hope that your others are. What if the Lakers go out and get Kyle Lowry?
What if we go out and get Kyle Lowry?
Well, you have Dame. You have Dame. Well, that's stupid. But the question is, okay, who do you go out to fill out that roster? Because you're not going to be able to afford much.
So you figure it out.
You're not going to be able to afford Will Barton.
No. You may not need Will Barton, though.
You can't win with just 2 guys right now. And also, and by the way, in the live stream we got a comment by Ashford, and I agree with him completely.
Oh, wait, people watching?
Jokic
Who watches this early?
Jokic needs defensive help, and Dame is not very good defensively. He also said that Dame plays a lot of ISO. Yes, he does, but I think they can figure out the two-way game with that. So I'm not concerned about Dame's how much Dame needs the ball in his hand, because I think he's willing and capable of giving it up. Nuggets need another playmaker that can offer more offense than Falcao and play defense. Right now, Denver is also, and I agree with a lot of people, Denver doesn't have a very good bench right now. So you're already taking a not so great bench, and you're getting rid of a lot of pieces that you're going to need next year and the year after for a guy like Dave. So what do you do? Because I'm looking at the top of the free agent list. You're going to have to scroll down about 20 to 30 names. Maybe you can get Lonzo Ball, but he's still going to be – that's tricky. If you can do a sign-and trade and send Will Barton over to New Orleans and get Lonzo Ball, that could work, because Lonzo, you could – but again, he's a point guard. With Dame, I don't know how that works. So then you're looking at 2, 3, and 4s. Well, Jermichael Green's probably going to be your star. Well, you have Aaron Gordon. I'm not sure if you can afford. Well, yeah, you can do that. So you have Aaron Gordon at 4. So you need a 2 and a 3. Derek Jones Jr.
Mm-mm.
He has a player option. That's what I'm saying. That's the you're not getting anything better.
Tony Snell.
Yeah, you're not exactly. You're gonna have to, and even then, that he's gonna be taking about.
Reggie Bullock.
They have him projected at 11 mils. You're probably gonna have to look at the
Tony
8
Snell?
million. Yeah, that's what they have him projected. Or that's what he made. That's what he made. So maybe not. He actually might be cheaper. So, but yeah, you're gonna have to go around the 6 to 8 million range, which is where you just said, Jermichael Green, Tony Snell, Rashawn Holmes,
The Floater King.
Reggie Bullock. That's your team. That's your team. Harkless, Wesley Matthews,
Bring Torrey Craig back.
Torrey Craig. That's the rest of your guys.
Mm-hmm.
That basically you're giving up your whole future to win this year and next year. Because by the way, Dame's already 30.
But if you get a championship, it's worth it.
Sure, but then if I'm Jokic and Dame's gone and Jokic's by himself, maybe I'll go to Dallas play with Luka.
If Luka stays.
Well, I'll go team up with Luka wherever he goes, in Miami or whatever. Or go
What?
play
Miami?
Go play with Giannis in Milwaukee. They get rid of Middleton and you go play with Giannis in Milwaukee.
That would be so fun, but it would make me very sad.
But you got a championship out of it, right? But you're gonna lose Jokic after his contract, and Dame.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. If you could win a championship, the Nuggets can win one championship, but
because
you will lose Jokic.
Dame is 31.
Is that worth the trade-off?
Dame is 31. So when he does crash and burn, like all older players will, then Jokic is by himself. Then he's coming up on his contract. He's like, well, Denver just gave up their whole future. No one's going to come and play with me in Denver. So I'm just going to go to Milwaukee.
That would be a very Jokic move. Leave a mid-market to go to a small market.
Well, I mean, at least they have Giannis. Well, that would be very Jokic, yes. But or go to New York with Luka. But you understand what I'm talking about, though, right? Is, well, all of a sudden, yeah, you got your championship. You might only get one because the West is so damn good. Oh, by the way, you got to play Brooklyn next year in the finals. Is Dame and Jokic beating Brooklyn? If healthy?
I don't know if anybody beats Brooklyn healthy.
Okay, so then you just gave up your whole future. You're not going to win a championship, and Jokic is going to leave you because you're going to have no future and no players because Dame is old and he's probably going to leave before Jokic the year before. So now
would you take a championship if it meant giving up Jokic?
Too bad I gave up Jamal. So that was my replacement.
Or you waited out and then you never win a championship.
I gave up MPJ along with Jamal. So there goes my whole future and what we do after Dame. So then we're gonna lose Jokic. So basically, you can get to the finals, maybe win it. You got to hope that maybe Brooklyn has some injuries. You got to get some Phoenix luck in there, and so then you have maybe a 2-year window.
Wrong.
You have a 2-year window to win, and you got to beat LeBron and AD. You got to beat Phoenix. You got to beat Brooklyn. Okay.
For someone who is passionate about trading Hall of Fame football players, I thought you'd be in line with trading for Hall of Fame basketball players.
I am more than happy to get Dame. I want to keep.
Not.
I am more than happy. I want to keep Jamal. I want to keep
You're
Jamal.
More than sad.
I want to keep Jamal or MPJ.
You don't want Dame.
Oh, I would love Dame, but I want to keep Jamal or MPJ.
Well, that's not possible.
It is because no one's gonna offer anything else.
You can't get a
better.
Lamborghini and have a Ferrari and all. Well, that's if you're super rich, you can.
What's better than the MPJ deal I pointed out?
For which side?
For if you're Portland, what's better than the MPJ deal
MPJ and Jamal.
from another team?
There is none.
Well, then,
But what are you trying to do? Are you
then-
trying to stay
well-
relevant, or are
well,
you
then
trying to tank?
if you're rebuilding, what are you doing?
Okay, well then, it's I don't know. That's tough. It depends on what Boston
then
can offer.
if I'm Denver and I'm saying, well, this MPJ deal is the best you can get, why the hell am I throwing in Jamal?
Well, it depends on what
What do you-
Boston's giving up. Because if Boston still has
Boston's
good
interesting.
picks,
Boston's
is
interesting.
it
I don't know
better
how
to
many
get Jalen
arrows
Brown in
left.
picks? Is it better to get Golden State's picks and Wiseman and Wiggins, or is it better to get MPJ and the Nuggets
Right.
picks?
Well, then right. So then you're picking and choosing. I would pairing MPJ. You're also giving Zeke Naji, and
Well, you're also having to choose between who's
what
going
about
to have the better future.
what about MPJ and Aaron Gordon, and then you can flip Aaron Gordon. Because here's the thing now that I'm
How is
thinking.
that tanking? How is that rebuilding?
Well, you're gonna have to.
You're still going to be a playoff team.
You're gonna the draft picks and Zeke Naji, Bol, whatever. But what I'm saying though is if you're Denver and you give up MPJ, you have to give up money somewhere. So you're
Credit
gonna
you as well.
You're gonna have to probably do a sign and trade where you're giving up a boatload. This is what you're probably gonna have to do. You're gonna for draft picks real quick. The Celtics have they don't have any extra picks. Oh no, they have. Hold on. Future.
They had like 70 that Danny Ainge got.
Well,
What do you mean?
I think they were all the last 2 years. Hold on. Future draft picks.
You still haven't answered my question.
They have.
If I came to you today from the future and I had two options for you. The Nuggets win a championship, but it means losing Jokic. Or you don't win a championship, but you keep Jokic as a Nugget forever. Which are you choosing?
Well, I'll take the championship. Yeah, but what
How dare you?
But what I'm saying though is I'm not sure you do win a championship.
I just guaranteed that you win a championship.
Well, yeah, if you guarantee it, but thinking
Yes,
about
you're losing Jokic.
But if you're not guaranteeing, I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. I don't think you can beat Brooklyn. I'm not sure you can even beat Phoenix at this point. Or the Lakers if they're healthy and whatever they do in the offseason. I'm not sure. It depends on who your third guy is. Because if you're giving up your third guy is Aaron Gordon. That worked great for you in the playoffs. Okay, look, the Boston Celtics, they have. No, they gave their pick to Oklahoma City. They don't have squad.
Man, so Danny Ainge just left him high and dry, Pete Carroll style.
Yeah, they gave up. They gave up there. Okay, so I don't think you're really competing with Boston then. And also, by the way, this also Dame has to. I don't know how much leverage Dame has to where he's like, well, I want to go to this team, or this team. I don't know because he's under contract for 3-4 years, so it's not like he can hold that.
Doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter
unless he has a player option or a trade clause. He might have a trade clause. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how because for all we know, Portland could send him to Oklahoma City.
That would be a savage move.
Because Dame doesn't have leverage. He's under contract.
Yes, he does.
He has 3 years under contract. It's not like he's
gonna have to play.
What usually happens is you go like the Melo deal, right? Melo was upcoming free agent, so he was only willing to sign a long-term deal with certain teams. So he had leverage there. If you have a trade clause, you have leverage. But if Dame doesn't have a trade clause and if he's under contract for 3 years, I'm not sure what leverage he has.
He's got leverage. All right, are we done with this Damian talk? Because that turns you into a person that I don't like.
By the way, all
You're
this
yelling.
to say, I don't think Dame gets traded.
I do. I think
Not this
think
year. Not this year.
It's probably at the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think
or in
that's
the summer.
That's the earliest. It's not. What I'm saying is not this year, calendar year. It's not in 2021.
But I think, again, I'm a big firm believer in where there's smoke, there's fire. And he said it yesterday. I mean, he squashed the trade rumors. He said it's not from me. I'm not saying that.
Right, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think it's
But we're not doing enough.
right.
So
right. So I think and this is what I said 2-3 weeks ago with Dame. It's this is a big offseason for Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they do this offseason will determine if Dame's going to stay, and whatever they do is not going to be enough to win.
Well, he may not be out the door, but he's got his coat on and his shoes on and the keys in his hands.
He's ready to go. Yeah.
He's already boop booped. You know how you boop boop?
Yeah.
He has the push to start.
He's like, you got one. You got one more chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one more chance, Portland.
And then he's going to LA to win 7 championships.
Well, he's still under contract though.
They're gonna trade Caruso. Can't trade Caruso. He's a free agent. All right. What else are we talked about?
Also,
Will Barton.
The Jamal injury
Lillard.
thing, I think that prevents him from getting traded. By the way, so
Why?
I think right.
No.
Can you trade an injured player?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why wouldn't you be able to?
Well, I don't know. I thought there was a thing where you couldn't trade a player injured or out for a significant time.
Pretty sure you can.
Okay. I wasn't sure. So
I don't think there's any rules against that. What else did I want to get to today? I think that's it. Will Barton.
I mean, I guess
we talked a little bit about Jamal.
We can get to the finals real quick.
Like I said, I have not watched a minute of the Most Healthy Championship besides the highlights from Game 4 on YouTube.
Right. Well, that's
the most I watch.
I'll say this: I think Milwaukee wins. For the first, and if you go down the box score, for the first time, Phoenix is playing a team that puts pressure on their top 2 players.
I just don't trust Chris Middleton.
Sure, but
he's gonna have to show up. But Andrew Holiday, for that matter.
Sure.
You're telling me they're gonna show up in game 5 or 7?
Well, okay, I'll say this: Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton haven't showed up in every game.
But I trust them more
than
I do Chris Middleton.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Because Chris Middleton has showed up in just as many games as they have already.
Okay, you don't count. Your opinion on Chris Middleton doesn't count because you're biased.
What I'm saying, look, Phoenix can easily win the series. It's gonna go. I think it goes 7.
It's 2-2. It could go either way.
Yeah, I think it goes 7. But what I'm saying is, Game 7, NBA Finals, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton are they showing up? I know Giannis is.
Is Chris Middleton?
What?
And Drew Holiday?
It doesn't matter because I know.
Who do you gut feeling? Who do you trust more to show up in a Game 7 in Phoenix? No, I'm not asking you if you trust Giannis to show up.
If Giannis comes in and puts up 40, 15, and 7, it doesn't matter if no one shows up for Phoenix. It doesn't matter. Milwaukee wins.
Well, no, that's not true. Because if Giannis is the only one that shows up, and Phoenix is others that you just clamored about, you went down the whole list. I'm surprised you didn't mention Saric and Kaminsky.
But that's what I'm saying. Usually, the best player will win the series. Giannis has been the best player.
Well, yeah, he's dominated.
As long as you have others showing up. Well, look.
Right, that's the question.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, okay, who's gonna match Giannis?
Devin Booker.
Are you sure? In a Game 7?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Because in games 1, 2, and 3, he's put up a grand.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming
he showed up in Game 1, 31 points. He also took 25 shots.
Here's what it comes out.
Oh no, that was Game 2. Sorry, I haven't.
We should really look at it like this, okay? Because I think Devin Booker most likely will match Giannis. Most likely. I'm not 100%, but most likely. Do I trust Chris Paul and Ayton more to show up in a Game 7 in Phoenix than I do Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton? Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm not sure because here I was getting to it because I haven't said it yet. For the first time in these playoffs, all the pressure has been for the first time. That pressure that we were talking about that they didn't have that first 3 rounds is now on a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old. For the first time. So how is that?
Yes.
How is that going to affect them going on to games 5, 6, and 7? Because now it's a 3-game series
Well, I think
where
it's favorable because they have 2 out of 3 at home.
where obviously the pressure isn't getting to Giannis. I mean, the dude is ridiculous.
Mm.
And by the way, he's been also decent from the free throw line. I mean, in game 3, he was 13 of 17. So obviously the pressure isn't getting to him like a Ben Simmons, right? So and by the way, he's putting up massive numbers.
Couldn't help yourself.
He's putting up 41, 13, and 6.
Who did we just run over? Ben Simmons. Oh, there he goes again. just back up over him. There he goes again. Just backed up over him.
42, 12, and 4. Here's and I heard someone say this. I don't remember who, but
Probably me.
all Milwaukee needs is one of either Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton to show up. One. Whereas for Phoenix,
I think they need both.
no, I don't think with Giannis playing the way he is, I don't think they didn't need both in game 3. They didn't
Drew
need.
Holiday's been the worst of the two out of him and Chris
Right,
Middleton.
and
He hasn't
Drew-
really showed up at
Look,
all.
Drew Holiday showed up in game 3, putting up 21, 9, and 5. All right.
Okay.
Um,
I guess I should not speak because I haven't watched any game.
and then in game 4, Chris Middleton showed up, putting up 40. And Giannis didn't need to really do much, but he could have if he wanted to. He didn't, whatever. 26, 14, and 8. Still played great. Drew
stat line.
Drew Holiday was 4 of 20 with 13 points. So you need one of the two to show up. Is what it's looking like, because you're playing a young Phoenix team where their top 3. I mean, Chris Paul didn't show up in game 4. Everyone killed him for it. But let's go back. I mean, DeAndre Ayton didn't show up in game 2, where he had 10 points. And then in game 3, Devin Booker had 10 points, and DeAndre Ayton had 18 and 9, so DeAndre Ayton showed up, but then he got in foul trouble. Devin Booker didn't show up. That's your best player. And your best player went 3 for 14 with 10 points. Giannis hasn't had a game like that. For the first time, a 25-year-old and a 20 or 24-year-old, whatever how old he is, and a 22-year-old has that pressure put on him. And what have we talked about the whole playoff, before the playoffs, right? Can they beat? They have the talent to maybe beat the Lakers, but Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton aren't ready yet. They have the talent to beat the Nuggets, but is Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton that pressure? Are they able to step up when they need to, when I know Jokic is going to? If Jamal was healthy, I know Jamal would. If Kawhi was healthy, I know Kawhi would. Paul George did. Give him credit for that.
Maybe.
Well, in most of the games, Paul George did.
We saw Game 7 last year. They did not show up very well.
Well,
So-
in these playoffs, the way Paul George was playing, he was playing great. So
No, you can compliment him. Look at that.
so like I said, for the first time in these playoffs, Phoenix has all the pressure put on, because Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton haven't had to be great every single game throughout these playoffs.
No,
They haven't.
they have not.
For the first time, they have to be great every night, and I don't think they can. They haven't showed it. They can be great 2 of the 3, which, okay,
That's all it takes.
that's all it takes, right? But they haven't been great at the same time.
But all you need to do is do it 2 times. And 2 times you have it at home. And
Right.
that's why I think Phoenix wins the series. Because also, from what I saw, Devin Booker can tackle people and not get a foul called on him.
Yeah, and that too.
And apparently he should have fouled out like 3 more times.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it.
I don't know. Because the way Giannis is playing, Phoenix can't stop Giannis. And if all this and look, I'll say this about Middleton and Drew Holiday. They really struggled games 1 through 3. At least Drew Holiday or Middleton did. He really struggled through games 1 through 3. Holiday had a better game 3. He had a good game 3. And then Holiday was pretty bad in game 4, but Middleton was superstar. So
I will say this.
I'll say if Middleton can, If it's more of something where Middleton is just now getting comfortable, which is looking because every game he's gotten better. I'll say that he's been bad, but he's gotten better in every game. I mean, game 1 he had 29, but he was 12 of 26. Game 2 he was 5 of 6. Okay, maybe he hasn't gotten better every game, but what I'm saying is if he can kind of be in the middle between game 3 and game 4, because game 4 he was ridiculous, right? Game 3 he had. That's game 2. Game 3 he had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So if he can do that, if he can do 26 and 6.
So he's got to be at 25.
Not if Drew Holiday can give you 15 to 17, then no, not necessarily.
I think Giannis has to be to 30, Middleton has to be to 25, and you have to get 15 to 20 to.
Well,
from
I
Drew.
think Giannis I would say would need to be if Middleton's only giving you 20 and Holiday's only giving you 15 to 18, then Giannis would need to be up to 35 to 40, which he did in game 2 and 3, and game 3 he obviously had 41, 13, and 6. So I think game 3, if you look at game 3 and what they did, I think that is exactly what they need. 40 from Giannis, or at least high 30s, 18 to 20 from Middleton, and Holiday needs to be anywhere between 15 and 20, with his 9 assists and 5+ rebounds. Middleton with his 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Giannis with his 13 and 6. And then off of that, Brook Lopez, if he can put up double digits, or Bobby Portis. We've seen Connaughton have big games. Jeff Teague has had big games. So then it goes down to your others.
And Jeff Teague's been getting minutes?
Yeah, well, with the injury to who got injured?
DiVincenzo?
Yeah, DiVincenzo. So, but yeah, Teague had a good game at some point. Oh, maybe he had a big bucket.
Say this. Here's a bet I think you'll like. If the Milwaukee Bucks win the championship, I will buy you a Middleton jersey. And I will humbly admit that Middleton is the better of the two.
Okay. What happens if they lose?
They lose.
I'll give you a $10 gift card to Crumble.
You're already reading my mind.
Okay.
I don't know what I want more. The team that got here by so much fortune to lose, or $10 to Crumble. This is tough. Honestly, this is a tough decision.
You completely destroyed the Nuggets season because you wanted them to win less than 43 games to get Crumble. So I'm sure you're willing for Phoenix to.
I have flaws. Win. I've admitted that. Okay.
You are the reason why they lost. They ruined their season. But you're the reason why Jamal got hurt. You are the reason why Jamal got hurt. You said before Jamal's injury, you said you wanted someone to get hurt. And look what happened. Jamal got hurt.
It's not true.
It's on Twitter.
It is. I mean, it is true that But when I was hoping for an injury, I was hoping for like a strained butt cheek.
Yeah, well, be careful what you wish for because you didn't clarify.
Pinky toe.
You didn't clarify.
Or,
So the basketball gods looked at it and said,
shooting finger.
All right, here you go.
It is tough, though. Because on the one hand, I do not want to give in to this Middleton praise. Because it just baffles my mind that he can go for 40 and then one night go 6 of 21.
Well, that's what Paul George was. And I think it's funny because last year when Giannis was out, Middleton was great every night. But then when Giannis is healthy, he's inconsistent, right? Well, Paul George, when Kawhi is healthy, he's inconsistent. When Kawhi was out, Paul George was fantastic. And I think that you can look at it with Jamal too, right? If Jokic is getting going early and he's putting up a 40+ night, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, usually Jamal's like 15 points, maybe 5 of 15, something like that.
I think that's different. Because Jokic will willingly let him score.
Well, sure, and I think
it's just Jamal being inconsistent, not being able to make shots.
Well, I think when Jokic comes out right out of the gate aggressive, then same with any other great player, right? if they come out of the gate just going, a lot of times the others or in your second stars will kind of just get relaxed because they're like, oh, well, this guy's taking care of everything. And when it's time for them to step up, they don't because they're not in rhythm, whatever. And so what have we talked about with Jokic and a guy like LeBron? They take it easy the first half because they want to get those guys involved because they know how important they are in the fourth quarter. And so I think kind of what kind of clicked for Giannis in game 4, he only took 19 shots. And early in that game, he was not really aggressive at all.
How many threes has he taken this series?
He took 2 in game 4.
Okay.
And he missed both of them. But he allowed Middleton to kind of get going, and Brook Lopez too, to kind of get going early on in that game, and that helps him. It helps him. So I think it's interesting. I think Giannis coming out super aggressive, I think hurts Middleton. Just like Kawhi, if he were to come out super aggressive, hurts Paul George. Same with LeBron and AD. So I think you need a balance. And I think they figured that balance out in game 4. I'll say this. I am like 55% picking Milwaukee. Like as far as how sure I am, right? I'm picking Milwaukee to win.
Wow.
But I think it's close. But it really depends because I know Phoenix has the talent. But we haven't seen Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton with this type of pressure put on them. And look, the pressure was on Chris Paul, and look what happened. I mean, the dude was awful. Chris Paul can't be your number one, your number one guy.
Now we're back to hearing, oh, there's something wrong with Chris Paul, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, well,
here we go. When he plays great, he's amazing. Oh, when he plays bad, oh, there's something wrong with him.
And by the way, I don't want to hear another peep about the refs in this series, the rest of this series from Phoenix fans. I mean,
even in the last series, there was moments in the Clippers series, balls going off of Cameron Payne's hands and things like that.
If Phoenix loses, it's going to be the ref's fault and it's going to be Chris Paul's fault. It's not going to be Devin Booker's fault and it's not going to be DeAndre Ayton's fault. But to Phoenix fans, that's where it's going to lie because those two are the two best players. They need to show up. If they don't show up, Milwaukee's going to win. They have to show up twice. And if they don't show up in game 5 and 6, and they don't finish this thing in 6, then they're not showing up in game 7.
I was just going to ask you that before we close today. Does Milwaukee have to win tonight? Do they have to finish it in 6?
No.
Or can they win a game 7?
They can win a game 7. Because right now, I don't trust DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. And you know what? I don't trust Chris Paul. I don't know. We haven't seen Chris Paul in this situation.
Okay. I think Phoenix wins. I'll say Phoenix in 7.
I'll say tonight's interesting. I'm going to say Milwaukee in 7. But all of a sudden, all the pressure is on Phoenix. Milwaukee has 0 pressure on them tonight. They don't need to win. Phoenix needs to win. This is their game 7.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to win.
They have to win.
Because you don't want to go to Milwaukee
right.
down
3-2. So it'll be... Now, I'll say this. If Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton play great tonight, then I think that percentage-wise... I'll still make the bet, by the way. But that percentage-wise, for me, I think leans more towards Phoenix at 55%. Because now if they can show up tonight where all the pressure is on them to win, I think they can show up in a game 7. I'm still not 100% sure because game 7 is different. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see what will happen with Devin Booker, all the pressure on Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Because both, and by the way, Chris Paul, 2 of the 3 need to play great, and the third needs to play good. They cannot afford, because Devin Booker played great in game 4. He had 42 on 17 of 28. He played great, but the problem is he only had 1 rebound and only 2 assists. And
are you going to make me root for Phoenix now?
And DeAndre Ayton only had 6 points on 3 of 9 shooting. Chris Paul was 5 of 13 on 10 points. So 2 of the 3 didn't show up. And then Devin Booker kind of half showed up. He only scored and didn't hit a three. I don't know. Tonight's interesting. It's going to be a close game. We've had blowouts. Game 4 was kind of a close game, but Milwaukee pulled away. I think tonight's a very close game.
I really want that crumble. Should I guarantee a Phoenix victory? See if my avalanche powers are still working.
Do it. Let's make them bet. I'm picking Milwaukee. I'm not guaranteeing this bet. I'm picking Milwaukee, but I'm not guaranteeing.
I'm going to guarantee Phoenix wins, and they will win. This will be the one that it works. I'm telling you. Be careful what you wish for. You want me to guarantee it?
Well, look. It's close. Like I said, it all hinges on Booker and Ayton, though. I don't know. I don't know how you can trust a 25-year-old and 22-year-old in their first playoff run. And for the first time, all that pressure is on them because they haven't had to deal with it the first 3 rounds.
Yeah. We shall see. Game 5 is tonight, 7 p.m. Tonight probably won't watch.
I think tonight could decide the series.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I think whoever wins tonight probably wins the series. So.
Well, yeah, but... Game 7, if there is a Game 7, I don't know. I could see Milwaukee winning it. So,
all right, gonna do it for us today. Thought you were thoroughly wrong on many things today, but that's just every Saturday. So, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. I really want to
Are we doing this bet or not?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah, we're locked in now.
Okay, so if Milwaukee wins, you're buying me a Middleton jersey? I don't know if I want a Middleton jersey.
What do you want? I'm not gonna buy you a Middleton jersey. You know how expensive that is?
Well, no, I don't want a Middleton jersey. I don't like jerseys.
Okay, what would you like? How about that? What would you like? Do you want a $10 gift card to Crumble?
I want, because you hate this player now that I like him. I want a Shohei Ohtani jersey.
Okay. I don't hate him.
Well, you're gonna hate him when I start talking about him.
I mean, he's okay.
That's what always happens.
He might be a little bit overrated. But I mean, is it really that big of a deal that he pitches and can hit?
Yes, it is.
Is it really though?
Yes. He's the first.
I mean, listen.
He's the only player to do it. He's the only player to do it in 100 years.
Babe Ruth.
So I'm saying. And it's been over 100 years since Babe Ruth did it. So in 100 years, Shohei is the only player to do it. And by the way, when Babe Ruth did it, he hit like 10 home runs. Come on.
Different league, balls were heavier.
Shohei's leading the league in home runs. He has 33. You know what?
Arcs are shorter now.
Shohei has a chance to break the record for home runs.
He plays in altitude, doesn't count.
No, he doesn't. He plays in LA.
Mountains are out there too. Plays at altitude. I'm just saying. Is it really that impressive? I don't know.
And by the way, he's having to hit against better pitchers and he's having to pitch against better hitters.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But you're never gonna watch it.
If Milwaukee wins, I will buy you Ohtani jersey. Jersey. Not a jersey.
I don't need a jersey.
I'll buy you jersey. And do I still have to admit that Middleton is a better player?
Yes, that's the one thing I need.
That's 2 things, though. That's not fair.
Yeah, it is.
That's not fair at all.
Okay, how about this? If Middleton plays really good in 2 of the 3.
But again, that's 2 things, though.
Well, Milwaukee has to win, and Middleton has to play really well.
But you get 2 things. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if Phoenix wins, that's one thing.
Yeah, the deal is not even here. If Milwaukee wins, you get a jersey, and I have to admit Middleton is the better player.
Your original deal wasn't even.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. It was the same thing. Middleton jersey, and you admit that Middleton. It's the same thing.
Well, now I recant. Now I've realized that this is an unfair deal.
No, it's too late. You already said the deal is done.
That is. Can I add something to the deal?
What do you want to add?
To make it even.
I'll give you a $15 gift card. I'm not doing 20. I'll do 15. not doubling it because admitting that
just-
Middleton is not, like.
You just know how to work me.
All right. So 15.
Deal.
So
The
Phoenix
Phoenix
wins.
Suns win. I get a $15 gift card to Crumble.
Are we putting? Are we putting injury things on this, or are we just gonna assume that everyone stays healthy these last 3 games? Because that
That's good.
killed you in the Brooklyn series. And the way Phoenix's luck is going, I'm not sure what to think here.
So you want injury insurance?
I
is
mean,
what
I
you
don't
want.
look. I don't care. We don't need to. But if Chris Paul gets injured, I don't.
No injury insurance.
No injury insurance. All right. We'll just let it.
All right.
leave it.
If Phoenix wins, I get a $15 gift card to Crumble in an expedited manner because last time it took you like 3 months. Okay.
No, it didn't. No, it
It took,
didn't.
like,
We waited
2
till the end of
weeks.
the season.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 months. And if the Bucks win, you get Otani's Scherzer, and I have to admit that Middleton is slightly better than Paul George.
You can even
All
just
right.
admit that they're the same exact player because I don't even think Middleton's better. I just think they're the same exact player.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. Deal is done. It's written in stone. There's no turning back now. I really want to guarantee a Phoenix Suns victory. But then part of me also really wants that Crumble gift card. But then part of me also kind of wants them to lose. I'm not going to lie to you here. That's going to do it for us today. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, Stephen Priest Jr. It's been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.